All right, today we are diving deep into a really powerful, almost hidden idea. It's something that connects ancient wisdom with what we're just starting to understand in modern science. We're talking about sexual transmutation and how our most vital energy might just be the secret key to unlocking things like genius, incredible vitality, and maybe even a higher state of consciousness.
So, let's just start with a provocative question. What if that energy, the one you probably associate mostly with physical desire, what if it wasn't just for that one thing? What if you could learn to consciously harness it, to redirect it, and to use it to fuel your biggest ambitions, your most creative projects, and even your own personal growth?
You see, the foundational idea we're going to unpack today is that this energy is so much more than a simple biological itch. The material we're looking at presents it as a core life force. Think of it like an internal power source that you can either spend on impulse or invest wisely for some pretty profound returns.
So what we're really talking about is a total reframing of what sexual energy even is. This isn't about suppression, it's not a moral judgment. It's about viewing this energy as a concentrated life essence, a power source that, according to these ancient traditions, you can actually learn to cultivate and channel into, well, pretty much every other part of your life.
Now, what's so fascinating is that this is not some new age concept. Not at all. It's a universal idea that just keeps popping up across different continents and throughout history. You have all these different cultures, completely separate from one another, all arriving at the same core conclusion.
Okay, so let's look at two huge examples. In Taoism, they call this energy Jing. They saw it as a finite, foundational essence that you're literally born with, and losing it was seen as a direct loss of your life force. Then you go over to Ayurveda in India, and they called it Ojas, the most precious, refined substance in the entire body, the final end product of a long digestive and metabolic process. In both traditions, the male seed was seen as a biological treasure. And just look at this parallel. It is incredible. It doesn't matter if they called it Jing or Ojas, the conclusion they reached was exactly the same. Preserving this vital fluid makes the body stronger, the mind sharper, and it fuels the spirit. It's this amazing convergence of thought from two completely independent ancient systems. And it doesn't stop there. I mean, it's everywhere once you start looking. The ancient Greek Stoics and Pythagoreans talked about sexual moderation to get more mental clarity. Early Christian monks practiced celibacy to focus their entire being on God. And even the Renaissance alchemists, they used the seed as this powerful metaphor for their work, turning the base metal of raw desire into the gold of enlightenment. This idea is literally woven into the fabric of human history.
So you're probably asking, okay, that's all fascinating ancient wisdom, but how does any of this hold up today? Well, that's where modern science comes in. And what's cool is that science isn't necessarily disproving these old ideas, but actually providing a brand new language for them. It's like it's creating a biochemical map for what the mystics observed through intuition.
For starters, we now know that semen is an incredibly complex biological fluid. According to the source, we're talking over 200 different proteins, hormones like testosterone, the building blocks for neurotransmitters like dopamine, and, get this, incredibly high levels of minerals like zinc. Zinc is absolutely critical for your immune system and for making testosterone. The body puts a lot of resources into creating this stuff.
And check out this number. This isn't just theory, this is hard data. A peer-reviewed study that's cited in the text found a peak testosterone spike of nearly 146%, and it happened specifically on the 7th day of abstinence. Now, the levels did stabilize after that, but it points to a very real, very measurable hormonal shift that happens in the body.
And the effects aren't just hormonal. It's also about what's happening in your brain. On the one hand, frequent release can get you on this dopamine roller coaster, a big spike, then a crash, which over time can kind of dull your motivation. But with conscious retention, the theory goes that you recalibrate that system for a more steady, reliable drive. At the same time, the hormone prolactin, which shoots up after orgasm and makes you feel tired and less interested, is kept at a lower baseline. Practitioners say this leads to way more energy and awareness.
Okay, so this brings us to the main event, the actual practice of transmutation. This is the conscious act of taking all of that conserved biological and neurological power and deliberately aiming it,
channeling it into other parts of your life.
Napoleon Hill, the author of the classic book Think and Grow Rich, put it just like this. He flat out argued that a powerful sexual drive was a common denominator among the greatest achievers in history. But he said the secret sauce, the key, was their ability to transmute that drive, to redirect it from a purely physical expression into their work, their art, and their leadership.
So, how's it actually done? Well, the source material breaks it down into a pretty straightforward 3-step process. First, you conserve the raw energy. You build up a reservoir of this life force. Second, you use your mind, your intention, things like focus, visualization, even breath work, to consciously redirect that energy upward. And third, you pour that focused energy into whatever you want to accomplish. A business, a creative project, anything.
I think this analogy just nails it. Think about electricity. If it's just wild and uncontrolled, it's chaotic, it's dangerous. But if you run that exact same energy through a circuit, you give it a direction, a purpose, well then it becomes this incredibly powerful transformative force that can light up a city. It's the same energy, just channeled.
Now, this is a really crucial point. This path is not about being an extremist. It's not about rigid denial. True mastery, as it's described in these texts, is all about finding a conscious, intelligent balance. And we have to draw a very clear line here between repression and transmutation. They are complete opposites. Repression is when you unconsciously just bury desire, you push it down, and that can lead to all sorts of psychological problems. Transmutation, on the other hand, is a conscious, active process. You're not burying the energy, you're channeling it. One path blocks and stagnates, the other keeps the energy alive and flowing.
And a truly balanced perspective means looking at the whole picture. The source material is quick to point out that some studies have linked frequent ejaculation to a lower risk of prostate cancer. And of course, other researchers will argue it has more to do with diet and exercise. The point is, the goal should never be stagnation. You're not trying to hoard energy. The goal is intelligent circulation. And ultimately, what works for one person might not work for another. Self-observation is everything.
And this, right here, is really the ultimate takeaway. This isn't about following a rigid set of rules forever. Mastery is about developing the self-awareness to make a conscious choice in the moment. It's about knowing when to conserve your energy for a higher purpose and knowing when to let it go. It's about you being in the driver's seat of your own vitality.
So we'll end with this thought to leave you with. If this primal energy really is the raw fuel for creation, then the real question isn't whether you should deny it. The question is, how are you choosing to direct it? What in your life, your work, your relationships, your highest purpose, is worthy of that incredible fuel? What are you building?